Hello and welcome to Fast and Factual on Firstpost, where we get you the top 50 stories from around the world. I'm Alison LaGrange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. Let's begin. We start with the latest updates from the US election. Voting to elect the new president has begun in the US state of New Hampshire. 6 ballots were cast in the small town of Dixville Notch. A New Hampshire state law allows towns or unincorporated communities to open their polls at midnight. Both Harris and Trump received 3 votes each. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump has vowed to revive the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. He made the statement during a rally in the Reading city of Pennsylvania. The former president said that he aimed to launch the largest deportation program of migrants in American history. He also called for a death penalty for migrants who kill Americans. Former U.S. President Donald Trump vowed to fix America on Tuesday. He made the statement while holding his final campaign rally in Michigan. Trump said that President Biden and his deputy Kamala Harris broke America, but he will repair the country. Trump also slammed Democratic Party leaders while addressing Michigan voters. He criticized President Biden for dropping out of the election. He also slammed Biden for calling MAGA supporters garbage. The former president also insulted Nancy Pelosi, the former House Speaker. The rally in Michigan's Grand Rapids was Trump's final stop of his 2024 campaign trail. And Trump said that his Democratic rival Kamala Harris will invade the Middle East. He made his final appeal to the Arab and Muslim voters as he sought support in the swing state of Michigan. Taking to social media platform X, he wrote that Harris and her warmonger party members will start World War III. Trump also pledged to bring back peace. Meanwhile, Trump supporters were seen wearing trash bags in the state of Michigan. They dressed up in such a way as a response to Biden's remarks calling Trump supporters garbage. The garbage firestorm erupted at a Trump rally when one of his loyalists called Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage. And Donald Trump said bad things could happen if he loses to his rival and Democratic candidate Kamala Harris. He said this during an interview when he was asked what if he loses to Harris. Trump admitted to having imagined such a situation, but he emphasized that he was at a substantial lead. Meanwhile, the Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris went all out in her final campaign blitz in the swing state of Pennsylvania. She addressed voters and said the momentum is on our side. She further added her leadership will shape the future of the new generation. Harris urged people to vote for the ambitions, aspirations and the dreams of the American people. And Harris also held a door-to-door campaign in Pennsylvania. She went to a suburb and showed up at the doorstep of residents personally, greeted families and sought support from the voters. Pennsylvania is a key state in the U.S. election. It offers the largest share of votes in the Electoral College among the other battleground states. And U.S. President Joe Biden made a final appeal to voters ahead of Election Day. Taking to social media platform X, he urged voters to exercise their power. Biden pushed people to vote for Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris. Biden also had exuded confidence in his deputy and said that she would defeat her Republican rival, Donald Trump. And vice presidential candidates also appealed to voters in their final election rallies. Republican candidate J.D. Vance slammed his rival Tim Walz in a rally in Michigan. Vance said that he feels sorry for Walz for having to pretend that Kamala Harris is fit to be president. He also praised Donald Trump, claiming his last presidency was an era of low inflation. Meanwhile, Democrat Tim Walz appealed to voters in Wisconsin. He said that this election will shape the coming generations. And states have heightened security ahead of voting day. The Pentagon says at least 17 states have placed a total of 600 National Guard troops on standby if needed. The states of Oregon, Washington, and Nevada have activated the National Guard. The FBI has set up a National Election Command Post in Washington. And reports say that in some states, poll workers have been provided with panic buttons in case of emergency. Meanwhile, security is also being ramped up in the U.S. capital, Washington, D.C. Officials from the National Guard say over 24 U.S. states are ready to send troops to Washington if needed, although the capital's administration hasn't requested them so far. Reports say officials are preparing for a potential January 6th-like event after the elections. In 2021, thousands of Trump supporters stormed the Capitol to prevent Congress from certifying Joe Biden's win. Election officials in the swing state of Arizona say that they will prioritize accuracy and security over speed. In the last election, the state was criticized for slow counting. Arizona faced criticism this time as well from Donald Trump supporters and billionaire Elon Musk. Last month, Musk shared a story claiming ballot counting in Arizona could take up to 10 days. And a Pennsylvania court has allowed billionaire Elon Musk to continue with his $1 million giveaway. Musk's plan to give money to registered voters in swing states was challenged by the Philadelphia district attorney. They argued the giveaway violated state election law. Musk's lawyers contended that the giveaway was intended for people who would serve as good spokespeople for his pro-Trump agenda. The court allowed the scheme to continue without providing a reason for its ruling. And moving on to other stories at this hour, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi condemned the attack on Hindus at a temple in Canada's Brampton. Prime Minister Modi described the November 3rd Khalistani attack as deliberate. The Indian leader called upon Canada to ensure justice and uphold the rule of law. Taking to social media platform X, Prime Minister Modi wrote, and I quote, "Such acts of violence will never weaken India's resolve." Meanwhile, Canadian police arrested 3 people over the violence against Hindus in Brampton. They said that several acts of unlawfulness are under investigation. The action comes after New Delhi responded sharply to the Khalistani attack. Hindu devotees at the temple premises were targeted by Khalistani elements. And Israel formally ended cooperation agreement with the UN's Palestinian Relief Agency, or UNRWA. Israel's parliament adopted a new law to ban the agency's operations in the country last month. Israel has now notified the United Nations about the end of this agreement. UNRWA has said that the new law puts its operations in the West Bank and Gaza at risk of collapse. And Israel said it has eliminated top Hezbollah commander Abu Ali Rida in Lebanon. The IDF said that he was killed in an airstrike in Lebanon's Barachit area. Rida was accused of overseeing rocket attacks against Israeli troops in southern Lebanon. Meanwhile, Israel said it struck Hezbollah's intelligence headquarters in the Syrian region. The Israeli Air Force said that the attack damaged Hezbollah's intelligence capabilities. Meanwhile, Syria has accused Israel of targeting civilian sites near the capital, Damascus. And Ukraine said its soldiers confronted North Korean troops in the Kursk region. Ukraine's defense minister, Rustem Umerov, confirmed the encounter. Umerov said that this can be considered the beginning of North Korea's participation in the war in Ukraine. Meanwhile, reports say that Russia is allegedly planning to target cargo planes to North America and Europe. The reports cite European and American intelligence officials who say that Russia's plan is to send parcels containing explosives to countries in Europe and the United States. Moscow has not responded to these accusations yet. And a Russian rocket today carried 53 satellites to space, including 2 from Iran. The 2 Iranian payloads include a high-resolution imaging satellite and a small communications satellite. The launch comes as Moscow and Tehran expand ties in various sectors. In Europe, Georgia's opposition parties launched new protests over last month's election results. The opposition leaders have called for daily protests starting today. Demonstrations are aimed at preventing the opening of a new session of parliament later this month. In October's parliamentary elections, the ruling Georgian Dream Party claimed victory, which is seen as pro-Russian. And Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu ordered the release of 40 miners yesterday. They were charged with treason. They were allegedly involved in the anti-government protests in August. The trial of these miners had begun earlier this month. And in climate news now, tornado and severe thunderstorm warnings have been issued for the U.S. state of Oklahoma. Residents were warned of potentially life-threatening conditions. The local meteorologists had expected damaging winds to hit the state today, and this comes a day after several tornadoes ripped through the region, injuring at least 11 individuals. Over 11,000 people are still without electricity. And Tropical Storm Rafael has strengthened as it moved northwards toward Cuba. This comes as Cuba still recovers from a recent nationwide blackout and Hurricane Oscar. The U.S. National Hurricane Center warned that Rafael would likely intensify rapidly before hitting western Cuba on Wednesday. The storm could bring dangerous storm surges and waves to the Cayman Islands as well, and authorities have begun evacuating tens of thousands from vulnerable areas. And flash flooding has struck parts of Barcelona in Spain, prompting a red alert for heavy rain along the coastal areas. The severe weather has disrupted train services, led to flight diversions and cancellations, and schools and colleges have been shut down as well. The fresh spell of rain comes as eastern Spain continues recovery operations after the deadly floods killed over 200 people last week. And Indonesia's National Weather Agency predicted that the country might get a normal monsoon season next year. It might become an ideal weather for the crops to flourish. This comes after Indonesia went through a severe dry season last year, fueled by climate change. The dry weather hurt crops and exacerbated forest fires. And the pollution crisis in India's capital, New Delhi, and its nearby areas is deteriorating with every passing day. The air quality index continues to remain in the very poor category. Now, the region of Mungta has recorded an AQI of 999 this morning. Now, an AQI between 0 and 50 is considered good. And on to business and tech news now. The U.S. stock market declined a day before the presidential elections. The Dow Jones dropped by 0.6%, while the S&P 500 and NASDAQ each fell by 0.3%. The stock market has been increasingly volatile as opinion polls fail to show a clear winner. Meanwhile, the U.S. Federal Reserve is also set to announce its interest rate decision later this week. A new study shows that U.S. shoppers could lose as much as $78 billion in spending power annually. This is if Donald Trump implements his proposed tariff policies on imports from China and other countries. The study was conducted by the U.S. National Retail Federation. It noted the proposed tariffs would affect products like clothing, footwear, toys, and home appliances. The report stated that tariffs would severely impact the low-income families. False or misleading claims about the U.S. election shared by billionaire Elon Musk were viewed by 2 billion users this year. This is according to a new study by the non-profit group Center for Countering Digital Hate. The study included content shared by Musk on his social media platform X. The report states at least 87 of Musk's posts about the election this year were false or misleading. And social media giant Meta is extending its ban on new political ads even after the US elections. The policy prevents any new political ads on Meta platforms during the final week of the election. It was first implemented in 2020. Meta argued there may not be enough time to fact-check new claims made in ads just days before the polls. However, previously shared ads with at least one impression will continue to run. Meanwhile, Meta has been fined over $15 million in South Korea. The social media giant has been accused of illegally collecting data from about 1 million South Korean users. It then allegedly shared this data with online advertisers without users' consent. The shared data reportedly included details about users' religious beliefs and sexuality. And Boeing workers in the US have voted to end their nearly 2-month-long strike. The union, representing about 33,000 workers, approved a new wage deal proposed by the plane maker. The deal includes a 38% wage increase. It also includes a $12,000 signing bonus, among other perks. The union stated that the contract was endorsed by 59% of its members. The union had previously rejected 2 contract offers from Boeing. And ChatGPT maker OpenAI has reportedly started the process of changing its governance structure. The firm aims to transition from a non-profit to a for-profit company. Artificial intelligence startup is reportedly in talks with California's Attorney General's office about the process. OpenAI was established in 2015 as a non-profit research organization, and earlier this year it announced plans to go all-in on profit. And chipmaker Intel has reportedly started the stake sale process for its unit Altera. American investment firms Silver Lake and Bain Capital are among the companies competing in the bid. Altera makes programmable chips. Intel acquired the firm in 2015 for $17 billion. Now it plans to sell parts of the company due to financial challenges. And the European Union says it will assess Apple's operating systems for its iPad. The bloc's antitrust regulator wants to determine whether the iPad OS complies with the EU's Digital Markets Act. The regulator said it will take input from all stakeholders on the issue. The EU's Digital Markets Act requires tech giants to allow users to have alternative options, such as different app stores. And French families have filed a lawsuit against the Chinese social media platform TikTok. Filed by 7 families, the lawsuit accuses the platform of exposing these children to harmful content. It alleges that TikTok's content led to 2 teenagers taking their own lives at the age of 15. The lawsuit claims that TikTok's algorithm exposes teenagers to issues like suicide, self-harm, and eating disorders. And moving on to sports news, and we start with cricket. Now, Australia beat Pakistan by 2 wickets in the first one-day international in Melbourne. Batting first, Pakistan were all out for just 203 runs. Chasing the rather small target, Australia lost 6 wickets for 139. Captain Pat Cummins came to Australia's rescue and guided them to victory. And South Africa will host India for a 4-match T20 international series. The Indian team by Captain Surya Kumar Yadav has already arrived in Durban yesterday, and this comes months after India beat South Africa in the T20 World Cup final. The first match between the 2 teams will be played on the 8th of November in Durban. And the Indian Olympic Association, or the IOA, has sent a letter of intent to Global Olympics body. It is to host the 2036 Summer Olympic Games. India faces competition from at least 9 other countries in its bid to organize the quadrennial event. And moving on to football, Edu Gaspar resigned as Arsenal's supporting director yesterday. Gaspar cited his desire to pursue a different challenge. Reports suggest that Gaspar could be set for a role under Greek businessman Evangelos Marinakis. Now, Marinakis owns the English club Nottingham Forest and the Greek squad Olympiakos. And in boxing, the Algerian Olympic boxer Imani Khalif has been allegedly identified as man. A French journalist with access to her medical reports has claimed that Khalif suffers from a sexual development disorder found only in genetic males. With this, the gender identity of the Paris Olympics gold medalist is once again under scrutiny. And in entertainment news, podcaster Joe Rogan has endorsed Donald Trump for the post of U.S. president. He shared his endorsement through social media video featuring Tesla CEO Elon Musk. This announcement follows a nearly 3-hour interview that Rogan conducted with Trump in October. And Kamala Harris has given a musical twist to her campaign rallies, with celebrated artists performing in her support. Superstars like Lady Gaga, Katy Perry, and Ricky Martin lent their support through their voices. Martin told the crowd in Philadelphia that Harris is for unity and Americans. Meanwhile, in Pittsburgh, singer Katy Perry charmed the attendees with her power-packed performance. And in Pennsylvania, Vice President Kamala Harris made a voting appeal to the Latino voters, along with rapper Fat Joe. The rapper said during a speech that there is just one day left and Latinos need to get their votes out. He further said, and I quote, "If I tell you Kamala Harris is with us, she's with us." In Kamala Harris's star-studded rally in Arizona, celebrities like Jessica Alba, Eva Longoria, and Jordana Brewster came out in support. While Alba attended the event in a t-shirt which had "Vote" written on it, Longoria was spotted in a bold blue sweater, stamping her support for Harris. And American actor Will Ferrell has released an offbeat support of Kamala Harris. In the video, the actor is seen saying that this election is going to be one of the closest in history, and every vote counts. He went on to say last time only a few thousand votes kept Donald Trump out of office, so people should not forget to vote. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Fast and Factual. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to Firstpost.